This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 605. Welcome in. I'm feeling pretty low energy today, I think I'm discouraged. I don't know if it's because of the way life is going. Maybe I just want more views and I wish more people listen to the show. I think also, my fantasy team is 2-4. I've eaten only a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today. I also recorded an entire episode before this, so I'm kind of low energy and tired anyways, but I'm looking at my team this year. My team is 2-4. I have scored 630.9 points this year. Against me, people have scored 630.52. I've actually scored by literally a fraction. I've scored more points than my opponents have scored this year, but I've got a 2-4 record. I'm losing. It's weird there. It's 630.9 to 630.52. It's insanely close. I don't understand that. I don't like that. My team is 2-4. Part of why I don't have a favorite team in the NFL is because I really don't want the joy of having this thing you can't control, affecting my life. I can't have another way to feel like I'm losing in life. I don't want that. I have found that in fantasy. And what's even worse is I'm making decisions that affect this team and I'm still losing. I'm like, So I can't even say, well, when I was a Mariners fan, for example, as a kid, I was like, I hate the team, but they're doing stuff I wouldn't do, so that's why we're losing. No, I built the team. I'm making the roster moves every week, and I'm still 2-4. And it's like, okay, great. My quarterback, Deshaun Watson, did not play again this week. My running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, didn't play. I was going to start at tight end, I was going to start Dalton Kincaid from Buffalo, but then right before the game, by the way, not early on Sunday, but after a lot of the morning games have already happened, between the morning games and the afternoon games, it was found out Dalton Kincaid is not going to play. So I had to last minute make a change in my roster when I could have done something different if I'd known that going in. To think I'm going to start one guy, then have to make a change really sucks. So my flex player was Joshua Kelly, the backup running back from the Chargers, who got no points. I couldn't start Kareem Hunt because that game was already over. If I could have started Kareem Hunt on my bench had 16.1 points. But I they were playing the 49ers. I'm like, I don't know. The number 2 running back in Cleveland, who is probably not the number 2 running back anymore. He's probably the starting running back truly now, but they were taking some time to get him into the swing of things. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen against the 49ers. Maybe I'll play Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly, 1.4 points, 1 carry, 2 yards, and a catch for 2 yards. Dang it, man. I had a horrible week of fantasy football. My team, the Mother Lovers, we lost to my friend Logan. I scored 93.12 points. Logan scored 98.2 points. So it's another really close game for me. I lost week 7 by 6 points. Sorry, I lost week 2 by 6 points, and now I've lost this week by 5 points. I'm getting close. I could very easily be 4-2 instead of 2-4. The quarterback matchup was tough. So my quarterback, Deshaun Watson, once again, did not play, and I had to make a move. I ended up picking up Derek Carr, and I actually did win this quarterback matchup. My quarterback, Derek Carr, scored 17.32 points. He had, his 32 for 50 passing, 353 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception with a carry for 2 yards. Logan's quarterback was Joe Burrow, they won, but barely. Had kind of an ugly game against Seattle. Joe Burrow was 24 for 35 passing, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, 2 carries and 4 yards. So I won the quarterback matchup, but barely. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to be looking off to my right. My notes are here on my monitor today. I'm trying a different thing today. In the running back matchup, I actually did pretty good. I dominated the running back matchup. My number 1 running back, Zach Moss, in Indy, had 7 carries for 21 yards, a touchdown, plus 6 catches for 38 yards. He scored 17.9 points. Logan's number 1 running back was Alexander Madison, who I've made fun of a lot. Not a great running back, had 18 carries for 44 yards, also got 4 passes for 28 yards. So I won the running back matchup with the number 1 running back. I dominated the number 2 running back matchup. Isaiah Pacheco, my number 2 running back, had 15.8 points. 16 carries, 62 yards, 6 catches for 36 yards. His number 2 running back, DeMercado, I forget his full name. What's his name? Amari DeMercado, the running back in Arizona, 2 carries for 11 yards and a catch for 6 yards. So running back wise, Zach Moss and Isaiah Pacheco won that matchup healthily. I felt really good about that. But my number one receiver matchup, I lost both receiver matchups. Nico Collins, my number one receiver, had 4 catches for 80 yards. He scored 12 points on the day. Not bad. Like, could have been worse. He's definitely done way better. But Houston did win, so good for Nico Collins. His number one receiver, Jamar Chase, had 6 catches for 80 yards, so he only scored 14 points. It was narrow, 14-12. I actually got kind of lucky. In terms of Jamar Chase, that's a pretty mild game for him, so I'll take that. To lose by 2 to Jamar Chase, I'll take that as actually kind of a victory there. Although not literally a victory, but I'll take that. If I can do that every week, that'd be fine with me. Calvin Ridley got me 6.8 points. Hit a carry for -4 yards, which really hurt. He also had 4 catches for 30 yards. So Calvin Ridley, my number one receiver, my number 2 pick in the draft, 6.6 points this week. His number one running back, Jordan Addison, had 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. That got Jordan Addison 11.8 points. So the wide receiver matchup, I lost in both aspects. At tight end, I got crushed. I realized after recording, I forgot to leave a spot to talk about our sponsor of today, so I gotta take a break, gotta pay my bills, gotta pay my rent. My name is Zach. I will be right back. PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks allows you to make an entry based on player projections, and in 60 seconds, you could enter something like Travis Kelce more than 5 catches, Tyreek Hill more than 100 yards receiving, and Justin Fields less than 200 yards passing. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into $50. PrizePicks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. For a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. I was going to start Dalton Kincaid as my flex player. Then right before the game, I already talked about this earlier, we find out he can't play, so I had to scramble to find someone to replace him. My number 1 tight end that I started, George Kittle, because I was going to make Dalton Kincaid my flex, George Kittle my tight end. George Kittle had 1 catch for 1 yard. He got me 1.1 point. After, by the way, last weekend I didn't play him, and he got 27 fantasy points. Like, George Kittle is the most inconsistent, frustrating fantasy player I think I've ever had in my entire life. Really, the only time he scored a lot of points, I didn't play him. Like, I want to bench him badly, but I can't because my other tight end isn't even healthy. Sam Laporta, Logan's tight end, had 4 catches for 36 yards. He had 7.6 points. Not a great day, but definitely better than George Kittle did. And then I got absolutely obliterated at the flex spot. Logan's flex, Jacoby Myers, had 5 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. By the way, it was looking pretty good. Like, Jacoby Myers wasn't doing much, and at the end of the game, he kind of took off and did well. My flex player was Monday Night Football's backup running back for the Chargers. 1 carry for 2 yards, 1 catch for 2 yards. Joshua Kelly got me 1.4 points as my flex player. That's frustrating. My kicker did pretty good. Brandon McManus had 3 field goals. 2 of them were over 40 yards. And a 50-yard field goal. So my kicker, Brandon McManus for the Jaguars, got me 17 points on the day. That's pretty awesome. We love that. And his kicker, Evan McPherson, had 1 field goal, 7 points on the day. Again, I won the kicker matchup. And then on defense, he had the Jets defense. Logan had the Jets defense, who scored 12 points, 3 interceptions, 14 points allowed, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. My defense, the Dallas Cowboys defense, had 1 interception, 17 points allowed, and a sack. So the Dallas Cowboys defense got me 4 points. The Jets defense got Logan 12 points. I don't know, man. I'm frustrated, man. Going into Monday Night Football, I had a shot. I was down 11 points. I had the Cowboys defense and Joshua Kelly. Either Joshua Kelly needed to have a good day or the Cowboys defense needed to have a good day. Neither thing happened. And what's really frustrating to me, I left Kareem Hunt on my bench. Kareem Hunt got me on my bench. Kareem Hunt had 16.1 points. That would have won me the game if I'd started him instead of Joshua Kelly. But again, I didn't know I needed to do that till after. I thought Dalton Kincaid was going to be my flex, and I was fine. And then going into that second window of games, it was announced he wasn't going to play in their game this weekend. So I had to find and scramble for somebody else to be my flex player. Knowing what I know now, like Kareem Hunt's definitely going to be a starter next week. He's got a bigger role in Cleveland than he did when he initially joined them. And I was worried about them playing the 49ers defense, but the Browns beat the 49ers, which felt unexpected to me. So I think I hindsight 2020, I think I did the right thing by not playing Kareem Hunt. You can't expect that, the Browns without their starting quarterback are going to win and beat the 49ers. I just did not see that coming at all. But, Jahmyr Gibbs, my running back, didn't play, so I had to find a replacement for him. My quarterback, Deshaun Watson, did not play. I did have the Browns defense on my bench. They only scored 6 points, so I wouldn't have won anyway. But I definitely have to start the Browns defense this week because the Cowboys defense has a bye week. And I feel good about that. I think picking up the Browns defense was actually probably a really smart, really good move. But I find myself just really frustrated, man. I hate losing. I'm 2-4. I am currently like 13th in the standings. I got to get in the top 8 to make it into the playoffs, and I'm not sure I'm going to do it. And I'm kind of like, if I don't make the playoffs, then what do? I'm not really sure. Do I keep making content about fantasy? Like I'll be in the losers bracket playing on do people want to hear that? I don't know. I don't think I should cover what else is happening in the league if it's not involving me. So I'm really not sure, man. I want to make the playoffs in this league. I think my team has potential, man. Like I know people make fun of my team, but I think I don't realize how scarce it is in this 16-man league. But the Jahmyr Gibbs draft pick is killing me. That draft pick has not worked out at all. Deshaun Watson's been injured a lot and not playing, and that's 3 weeks of the year. He's only played half of the games for me. Of the 6 weeks so far, I've only had Deshaun Watson for 3 of them because he was injured for 2 and had a bye week. So Deshaun Watson's got to come back. I'm not keeping Derek Carr as my quarterback long term. That would kill me. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm at a pretty low point when it comes to fantasy. I'm discouraged. I'm frustrated. I want to win, and maybe I'm taking it too seriously, but I hate losing. Like it really bothers me. Right now, I play Children of Analytics next week. His team is 3-3, and I'm putting Kareem Hunt in my starting lineup. Jahmyr Gibbs, even if Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy, I'm probably not going to play him because I've got Zach Moss and Isaiah Pacheco, who both have been scoring good points, and Jahmyr Gibbs has done literally nothing all year. And the Lions don't appear to want to use him as a feature back. So that's a bust for me. I drafted him, I believe. He was my number 1 pick. Let's look at the draft results. I believe he was my number 1 pick. And that's a painful realization that he's just not doing enough. So, yeah, my number 1 pick was Calvin Ridley, first round, 14th pick. Second round, 3rd pick, I drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. And I got offered a trade this past weekend. I want to pull it up, put it on screen. Logan, who I played against in fantasy football, offered me a trade like Tuesday, and I didn't take the trade. That was a mistake. I should have taken this trade. I got offered an amazing trade. He wanted Deshaun Watson, my quarterback, Calvin Ridley, my receiver, and Jahmyr Gibbs, my running back, in return for T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and Gus Edwards. Now, Gus Edwards and T. Higgins are kind of garbage. They haven't had a good year this year. Joe Burrow would have been, and for 2 players who, Calvin Ridley and Deshaun Watson and Jahmyr Gibbs didn't even play this week, I could have had players who were playing and healthy, and, I don't know. Derek Carr did get me more points than Joe Burrow, but this is a trade I've thought about all week. Like, should I have taken that? Because Jahmyr Gibbs is getting me nothing. I don't know. I feel like, I'm curious what people will say. I'll put the trade on screen again. I would have given up Deshaun Watson, Calvin Ridley, and Jahmyr Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs has potential. Calvin Ridley has scored high points before this year, and Deshaun Watson has potential. He can run around and make plays when he's on the field and healthy. Gus Edwards is kind of a nothing burger, so is T. Higgins, but Joe Burrow, maybe this trade wouldn't have been good for me now that I think about it, but, I've talked about it. I want to hear what people have to say about this trade. Should I have taken it or not? I don't know. It's just been it was a frustrating week for me. I hate losing, and I try not to be a sore loser, but I don't like losing, man. It's not fun. And it was a weird week in general in fantasy football this week. Like, Dak Prescott was the highest scoring quarterback with 24 points. He had only 2 touchdowns. Like, there wasn't a lot of high scoring, crazy players or performances this week. Like, highest scoring running back was Raheem Mostert with 34 points. At receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the highest scoring receiver with 30. These are all good scores, but there was no like 50-point, 48-point crazy performance like Tyreek Hill has had multiple times throughout the year. Highest scoring defense at 23 points. Highest scoring kicker at 18, Justin Tucker. Travis Kelce, highest scoring tight end with 21 points. Pretty moderate week in general in fantasy football that it feels like there wasn't a lot going on. There wasn't a lot of high scoring games and high scoring crazy stuff going on fantasy wise. I do want to give a shout out to Jake. Jake this week in the league lost by 5 points. Similar to me. I lost by 5. He lost by 5. That's brutal for him. And here's what's really brutal for Jake and where I feel bad for Jake. Jake's quarterback was Anthony Richardson, who Anthony Richardson was fantastic until he got hurt. Now he's out for the year. So his number one quarterback is out for the year. His backup quarterback is Brock Purdy, who does put up pretty good numbers from time to time. But this week for Jake, they lost 94.2 to 99.44 points. They lost by 5 points, basically. And his quarterback, Brock Purdy, had 8.7 points. That is brutal. Brock Purdy, 12 for 27 passing, 125 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Man, Jake, I just feel bad for you, man. I feel the pain. You lose by 5. You have a quarterback who doesn't give you really any points. Like, you're so close. Also, your flex player, Cole Kmet, your tight end, Cole Kmet, 2.9 points. Like, he had Garrett Wilson on his bench, who would have made all the difference. Like, Garrett Wilson scored 17 points this week. I don't know, man. Johnny Smith, his other tight end, had 13.6 points. It just, I hate this. Like, you start a player hoping one thing will happen. You never know if they're actually going to be healthy and play. You never know if they're going to do well. It's a weird fantasy football. I do like it. Like I will say, going into Monday Night Football, I had the Cowboys defense. I had Joshua Kelly, the Chargers running back. They were playing against each other. Like, I cared more about what happened on Monday night because of having the fact that I had players involved in that game. But I'm just frustrated. I hate losing, man. It's really frustrating to me. And, if you got anything to give me remorse or any kind of consolation, maybe write in, like give me encouragement. Because I'm just like, dang it, man. My team is 2-4. I'm awful at this. I think. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm really in a weird spot, and I'm 2-4. I would really like to be good enough to make the playoffs this year, so I have something to talk about and can keep making content about fantasy football. But right now, it's bad, and I'd love it if I would really, really like it if Deshaun Watson could play a football game. That would be really great. You know, if Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy and maybe the Lions decided to use him, maybe if my quarterback was actually on the field, would be awesome. It's been that kind of year. And I don't know if I'm bad at this or not. I'm not really sure, but I'd like to win, and I'm not winning. And it's just weighs on me like, dang it, man. I want to go through the standings right now. In first place in our league, you've got Sam Colburn's team. Ayahuasca won't fix that. They're 5-1. In second, you've got 24/7 Ass ETN season, who's 4-2. In third, Star Moore's Heshmi's team. They've made a comeback. He's 4-2. Good for him. McLaughlin Stock, Jacob's team is in fourth at 4-2. Logan's team is in fifth. Addison Vet Services, they are 4-2. The first 3-3 team is Rhett Bart's team. Touchdown Jesus, they are 3-3. He's number 6 in the league. In seventh place, you got the Rise of Florida Man. The Rise of Florida Man. I like that. He's 3-3. In eighth, Jackson's Prison TikTok. In ninth, How'd That Get Up There? In 10th, Children of Analytics. In 11th, Bustin' on Cousins. In 12th, Gimme a Win. How can you have your team name Steven Monday? Give me a win if you're higher than me. You're in 12th. You're 2-4. I'm 2-4. I'm in 13th. The Mother Lovers. We're not doing great. In 14th place is X Gonna Give It To You, and X not been given it to you recently, buddy. I love you, Andy. Andy's 2-4. In 5th, you've got the In 15th, you got the Jordan Rules at 2-4, and in 16th, you've got Allergic to Winning at 1-5. That is Phoenix's team. Phoenix's team has been horrific this year. So, I don't know. I feel like I sped run that. I don't know. I talked through what happened. I told you what's going on. It's been a frustrating year as far as fantasy football goes for me. But we'll see how it goes. In about an hour from now, gosh, that was like 20 minutes. I feel like that really flew by. In about an hour from now, I'm getting on a phone call with Logan. Logan and I are going to do a recording, talk about his thoughts on the week, my thoughts on the week. I would imagine that talking to Logan is going to be good for me. I really feel like the way I'm feeling about fantasy football, the way I'm losing in life, I'm just like, man, I hate it. So, you know what? I feel like I definitely need to talk to another human being right now. So I'm going to cut, And the next thing you hear from me, I will be talking to Logan about fantasy football. Although I will say, now that I'm realizing this, as I'm cutting to Logan, we haven't done an ad break yet. And I'm supposed to have 2 in this episode. So between now and hearing from Logan, you'll hear from one of my great sponsors. I got to pay my bills, got to pay my rent. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you to my sponsors. Thanks for taking care of me and paying my bills. Hey guys, it's kind of a big deal here. I'm actually trying to help you, so don't skip the ad. I know that when you listen to a podcast, you skip ahead. I know that because that's what I do, but don't skip this one. We got Factor as a sponsor, and I was sitting down to prepare my little ad read. They give, I write a piece of paper with a bunch of notes, and I'm like, okay, what are they offering? What's the deal here? Usually it's like 10 to 20%. You're like, okay, factor.com/SOS, whatever. And no. They are offering 50% off to Strong Opinion Sports listeners. And here's what they are. Factor is a meal kit service. You can get 50% off. Go to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50. And straight up on a human level, you'd be kind of silly not to investigate. It's a great deal. Factor is a meal kit service. They send you ready-to-eat meals. They're easy to prepare. For me, they showed up in a box with a bunch of high-quality ice packs. You take them out of the box, you put the meal kits in the fridge, and when you want food, you go to the fridge, you take it out, you put the thing in the microwave, you heat it up, 2 minutes later, you've got a really good meal ready to go. Now, the microwave part made me kind of go, what is this? Is it a bunch of TV dinners? Like, what is this crap? No, this is phenomenal food. It's high quality, it's never frozen, and compared to all the other options you can have for a quick and easy meal, it kind of kicks booty and is phenomenal. So, what I really think is interesting, too, there's so many ways to customize your order, whether maybe you're on a diet and you're like, hey, I'm trying to cut calories. There are low-calorie options. Or maybe you just want really good food that's easy to make and doesn't take 30 minutes to an hour out of your time cooking during the day. Like for me, I'm really busy with football season, and it's an incredibly valuable thing for me to go to my fridge, grab a really good meal, pull it out, put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, I've got a good meal ready to go. I saved a lot of time. It's cheaper for you and better than takeout or delivery. I used to drive for a delivery service. Guys, those prices are not good compared to this. So, again, it's just nice to have the fridge loaded with high-quality, good meals that are easy to prepare. And you can get 50% off of this meal kit service. Do the math. That's a really good offer. So, head to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off. That is factormeals.com/SOS50. Use code SOS50 to get 50% off. Again, code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off. And guys, it's a great offer. You would be silly. I'm trying to help you. Like, that would be a great thing to investigate because it's legitimately a great deal. Food's expensive right now, and having food that's great and convenient and not terrible for you is a rare thing. So investigate it. Factormeals.com/SOS50. Joining me now is Logan. Logan, I want to say, first of all, you're the only person in this entire fantasy football league I've actually met, like, in person. We've had breakfast together, and so it's, like, really cool to, like, kind of come full circle and have you on the show. How's your day going?
My day is going good. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Sure.
But I'm having a good day. Good day. Kind of rushed. I actually finished making dinner 8 minutes before start time. Scarfed it down.
That, by the way, that's a terrible idea. I've done that where I like eat like 2 PB&Js right before recording, and then like 30 minutes in, your stomach's like it wants to come back up. You're like, oh no, the body was not made to eat that fast and then talk and just have it all come out. It's all bad. Tell people, where in the country are you? Because I know we met in Hawaii, but you now live not in Hawaii. So where are you now?
Yep. So now I'm living back in Minnesota, born and raised in Minnesota. Definitely gonna live here the rest of my life. I missed a lot when I was living in Hawaii for 2 years. Just a lot of little stuff. The last weekend I was watching the Vikings game, and it's cold outside, and I'm eating a hot meal, and I was like, dang, I missed just food, family, and football. It didn't feel the same in Hawaii watching at 7 a.m. by myself, trying not to wake up my girlfriend. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've considered going back. I would never admit that. It's like probably the only place I would admit that publicly. It feels like we're talking between friends, but there's lots of people listening.
Right.
But I've considered it, and so pitch me on it. What made you leave Hawaii? Like, what's good about so being around family, being around people? You like the cold though, because I hate the cold. So that's something that I'll never ever. Even if I ever do go back, I'm gonna hate the winters. I'm gonna want to die.
I was gonna say that's probably not something I can sell you on, but I love the cold. I was definitely struggling in Hawaii with the heat. I was a lot of days just standing in front of the fan because it was too hot for me. I love the winter. I'm still it's in the 30s. I'm still wearing t-shirt and shorts. I love the cold weather. It's something about it. So I don't know if I can sell you on that, but I think that's a lot of it is just, I mean, I wasn't necessarily homesick, but just a lot of the little stuff. I missed kind of the fall breeze coming in, and Hawaii is just one climate, which is a little weird. I mean, you have the rainy season, but that's barely different.
Yeah, especially Hilo, where you were, like, it's the same year round all the time. But that's what I like about it. I like that I can leave my apartment and I reliably know it's going to be 85 degrees and warm, but I can go for a walk. I can feel the sun.
Yep.
Like, oh man. Talk to me about your team. How's your fantasy football team doing this year?
I'm 4-2 right now. I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm in 5th place. I wish that maybe I could have saved some of my points from last week for this week, so it wasn't so tight. Instead of scoring 170 last week, maybe going from a 100 point nearly margin of victory to 3 or something.
5. I will never forget it. Yeah, I lost week 2. I lost by 6, and I lost to you by 5 points. I'm like 11 points away from being 4-2 instead of 2-4. Mm-hmm. I'm on, dude. I talked to Jake about this. Right, I'm on the bridge, and I'm like, I might jump. This is going horribly. I hate it. I'm not having fun. Have you ever had like a losing season in fantasy? What's that like?
Last year in fantasy, I have a fantasy league with my friends. Last year was a really bad season for me. Well, actually, I ended up making the finals, but that was because I went on like a miracle run. I was the lowest seed in the playoffs. I won 6 straight to make the playoffs. But I've had some bad years as well. It definitely hurts. It kind of depends on what kind of league you're into. Because I've done keeper leagues, which I don't think you've talked about at all. I've done, I mean, just regular leagues. I've done leagues where the draft order is reverse of standings or it's random. So yeah, those tough seasons are tough, but at least, it's only, you're like, well, I got this crappy team, but at least it's just this year.
I haven't thought yet, like, long term what the plan is for this league. Like, do I keep the same group? If everyone wants to do it again, I might just keep the same people and do it again next year. Like, then give the people at the bottom the first. It's just like NFL standards, where if you're like Phoenix would get the first pick because he's 1-5 and his team is horrible. But do you want the first pick in a league? Like, I don't know. I've always wondered about that. Like, I feel like I would rather be at the back where you get 2 picks back to back. Yeah. So, what's your opinion?
I like having early picks, but I don't worry about it too much. I kind of just game plan wherever, but I know some people really prefer, like, I want to be in the middle, so I get 2 picks in the top 20 versus 2 picks in the top 4 or 32. So some people have a really strong preference. I feel like the people that want to be in the middle really prefer it versus the people that want to be first. Just, they can't really rely on that, I guess, so.
What if we did it where you could trade down? Like, is that even possible?
I don't know if that's in our league, but I've been in leagues where you can trade draft picks, and it was actually my second year ever doing fantasy. I think I was like 11 or 12, and my team was just so bad, and I was in a league with like all my dad's friends actually that they've had since 2000, and it's a 2-player keeper league, so you can keep 2 players every year. And you could trade draft picks, I noticed, and I was like, well, my team is terrible. So I just traded away all my good players. I had like half the first-round picks, and then they were all pissed at the draft the next year because I was making all the picks. I was like, you guys made the trades. So I think it's better without it, probably, just because year to year it's so different, your teams. But I'll work with it if whatever happens, but I think a majority of people don't trade picks unless you're doing a dynasty league.
I want to say I think your team is pretty impressive because you kind of went all in on the Cincinnati Bengals, right? You got Jamar Chase,
Yep.
you got Joe Burrow, you and I don't know if you're aware of this, but I learned this today while doing a different episode earlier. The Bengals have the worst offense in football. And somehow your
Oh,
team
yeah.
is still 4-2, built around the Bengals offense, basically. Like I don't know how that happened to you. Tell me your team. What Bengals players do you have?
So I have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, who was my first pick. I have T. Higgins, who I thought was going to have a really good year because it's a contract season for him. And then I also have their kicker, Evan McPherson, because it's like, well, if I already think that they're going to score a lot of touchdowns, that's going to be a lot of extra points for me as well. So everyone's been decent. Joe Burrow's looking better, but T. Higgins has been tough. He's been getting a lot of targets, but he's not been catching the football, and now he's injured.
Okay,
So-
well, no. Last week he had like 50 points, so I feel like I'm not hearing any complaining from you.
Did I say Jamar Chase?
Oh, T.
I
Higgins.
meant
Oh,
T. Higgins.
No, you did say T. Higgins. You did. I'm wrong. You're right. You said T. Higgins. I'm salty and like I hate losing.
Yeah, 50 points. That's the highest point total for any one player in our league this season. I checked before the broadcast.
What is it going to take for me to trade for C.J. Stroud? What do you want for C.J. Stroud? Can we talk? Can we negotiate here? Like, will you give anything up for him?
He's kind of the reason I didn't tank the first half of my season, but I will say this is kind of breaking news for you, I guess, but I might not have him when this episode comes out.
Oh
So-
no! Dang it! Well,
It sounds like I have a deal in place. Just
is it my man with Anthony Richardson? What's his name? Is it Jake?
I don't know if he wants me to say, but it is Jake.
Well, I'm the commissioner. Right? It would come across my desk. You realize, right? Like,
No, but what if he says no, and then on the show he sees me calling him out?
Oh man,
Because
I
he
mean,
sounds into it, but he was like, I'm gonna think about it because he's thinking about it. I'm like, that's
so
fine, that's
you
fine.
might have just shot yourself in the foot. You might have ruined your trade.
Oh yeah. I'm really hoping it
Content,
goes
baby.
through before this episode comes out, because
Well, I could just commissioner veto it. I could just say no. I want CJ. I would never do that. Can we talk about the trade where I was high and I traded like away? I can't remember who I traded away. Like I traded away the receiver I love, Nico Collins.
Nico
I traded away
Collins.
like someone else. Anyway, I like woke up the next morning and was like, that's a terrible trade. Hi, Zach was dumb. And I like canceled the trade. And I got a lot of hate of the internet for calling the commissioner's veto on that. But also like the guy I was making the trade with was also okay with it. So I think it was fine.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your
it's fine
comments
if
on
they're
that
cool
moment.
with it. I think because the trade wasn't going to go through for like another 4 days, especially, I didn't mind it personally. I was like, like whatever, we all make dumb mistakes, and I think it would have been different if it Phoenix, right? That was because Phoenix
think
had
so,
Josh
yeah.
Allen. He kept
Yeah,
he
yeah,
kept starting the
that's
wrong
what it was.
quarterbacks. I think
Kept
because Phoenix was cool with it. I think if Phoenix was upset, then maybe I would have thought about it different. But I think everyone in our league was like, no one was upset about it, so I think it was fine.
Well, I feel like I should correct the record. If like Phoenix had pushed back and said, "Hey, that's bullshit. I want that trade," I would have done the trade. You
Yeah.
could have bullied me into like giving up my player. That I agreed. I would have said that was a bad trade. I shouldn't have agreed to it, but I'll give up the player. Like I want to do the right thing, but I think in the situation, people that were mad at me maybe didn't understand the dynamic. I have no idea. I don't know. Was it bad
we're all just
sportsmanship?
chilling in the league.
Yeah. Who do you think? I think Sam's gonna win. Do you have any opinion on that?
I think Sam's probably going to win, although he just did a big trade, and I think that Andy came out really well. Sam traded away Justin Jefferson for another player, but he traded him for Chris Olave and Jamison Williams, and I think Jamison Williams has kind of been a nothing this year so far. So I kind of look at it like a 1-for-1 Olave Jefferson. So I think Sam might come to regret that, but I'm also a Vikings fan, so that could just be me and my homerism. But
Here's the trade.
I think. Go ahead.
Andy got Justin Jefferson and Raheed Shaheed from New Orleans, and Sam Colburn got Chris Olave and Jamison Williams, which is interesting. And depending on how long Justin Jefferson is out, that'll really be. And Jamison Williams is coming off, back from suspension, and Chris Olave's not doing much. I don't know. I'm not really sure who's going to win that trade yet.
Yeah, I think the details definitely have to be ironed out. But I actually congratulated Andy because I was actively trying to trade for Justin Jefferson. So when I saw that, I saw the app told me a trade went through. I was like, oh, did my trade get accepted? And then I saw Andy got him. So I was like, you got Justin Jefferson. And Andy's a Packers fan. So I was like, I hope Justin Jefferson scores 50 points for you every week this year.
Only when they play the Packers, right?
No, every week, but especially against the Packers. Andy's cool.
Well, imagine that's what's fun about fantasy, right? You can watch your favorite team lose, but if your player on your fantasy team is winning, you can still swallow it a little better and be like, okay, well, at least that happened.
The weeks that you lose in both leagues and your team loses, though, that Sunday night, it's just like, wake me up on Thursday. Like, I don't want to think about football right now.
Dude, I've never had a favorite team because it's too painful to watch stuff that I always thought the worst feeling you could have is be a Browns fan and watch them make all these horrible moves and then not have any control over it and still be emotionally invested in your team. But I'm realizing I think losing in fantasy is actually in a way worse because you're also making the moves. So you have to answer for all the things you're doing wrong and you're like, flip. If I'd played Kareem Hunt this week, I would have beat you, right? But I have to live with the fact that I chose to keep him on the bench. And that didn't work out. And I'm like, oh, man, are you kidding me? It's a little thing.
We didn't fire this GM. It's the GM's me.
Yeah, it's one thing when they're sucking, and I am a fan of that, but it's even worse when I'm the one who's losing. I'm like, oh, man, dang it, What do you make of...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, good. No, good.
I think some people have a more negative view of bench points than I do, because some people it really hurts them inside when their bench scores a lot of points. But at least I look at it they're still my players, so hopefully they can keep it up. But I know some people, it really kills them inside that coaching percentage.
I'm one of those guys that it kills me. Well, but I can rationalize keeping Kareem Hunt on my bench this week, right? He's been the number 2 back. He's new to the roster, so they've kind of been working him in. I think after this week, he will now be the number 1 running back in Cleveland, but they're playing the 49ers, and I'm I don't know how good they're going to do running the ball, plus Deshaun Watson, their quarterback's out, so there's no way they're going to win, right? And then the Browns do win. Kareem Hunt has a touchdown, has 16 points, and I'm like, dang it, man. Rationally, my decision-making made sense, but it really cost me. I'm I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think one thing about that is it's kind of like poker in a way where, let's say you're going to win, you get a hand, you're going to win 80% of the time. So you make a decision based on that 80% and you end up losing. But if you made that decision a billion times, it would average out to you winning, $80 on your $100. So I think it's sometimes you get screwed on your decisions, but if you make it with reason, then, it's just the luck of the draw, but at least you feel well, I should have been right. I had a reason that I felt I was going to be right, but I was not.
Do you want to talk about George Kittle? My man George Kittle coming through this week, giving me 1.1 point, 1 catch for 1 yard. What is that about? Are you kidding me? Every time this is a Phoenix situation where I keep playing the wrong quarterback. Every time I've kept George Kittle in my roster, he's done nothing. And the times I've benched him, he had 3 touchdowns and 27 points. And I'm like, man, I really cannot understand how to work with George Kittle. It's killing me.
He must know or something. I don't know. Can
you imagine?
He's a hater of the show. I don't know.
That guy badmouthed Jimmy Garoppolo, so I'm never going to perform when he's got me starting. That's totally how that works.
Although, didn't Dalton Kincaid sit? Or not dude. Sit, but out. So at least...
Dude, I was going to start Dalton Kincaid at my flex, though, thinking I was down 11 points going into Monday Night Football, right? And what I really didn't want to do was play Joshua Kelly, the Chargers running back, against the defense that I was starting. That, you don't want to do that. And what does kill me, I had the Browns defense on my roster, but I didn't play them because they're playing the 49ers, and I know that they're the best defense in football, but no way they're going to slow it on the 49ers. That did happen. Kill me. But even worse... I'm hey, Dalton Kincaid is a really good flex player this week. They're playing the Giants. It's going to be awesome. And then minutes before the game, last game on Sunday, they announced he's not playing. And I'm I can't go back. The only player I can swap him for, so I don't have a nothing burger, is put Joshua Kelly in, who's not going to have a good game this week. I was so bummed. I'm man, I hate that, in the NFL, they don't announce he's not playing till like minutes before. And if you're playing fantasy with that guy when small margins, you're like, well, crap. I don't know. Has that got you at all this year where like you're not sure and then you wait and then it costs you?
That has not got me this year. But I think it's a little worse, at least for you, being in Hawaii. But that Dalton Kincaid one was like last minute. I went to run to your team. I was like, is he starting him at the flex? Because I know you talked about starting both tight ends. But that was like minutes before the game or something.
And like all the other games that happened. So like I actually was lucky at Joshua Kelly. At least I had one player who hadn't played yet. But I'm like, dang it, man. Like, you just never know. It's like, it's killing me. But I don't know,
and
man.
I know Josh Kelly like got you no points, but I when I said that they were starting to involve Josh Kelly and I was getting nervous, it may have seemed dumb because he still only had like 2 touches, but I was serious because I knew Josh Kelly, all he needed was maybe like a couple more yards and a catch or something, and then all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys defense could just get a pick or a touchdown at any moment, and that kind of, I mean, it pushed you into the territory where if the Cowboys defense got a touchdown, you would have beat me. So I was sweating it out.
No, dude, it made the game really interesting because I was invested, right? I had the Cowboys defense, I had Joshua Kelly, and all it would have taken was one play for either my defense or Joshua Kelly, and I would have beat you. Like, right? I lost by 5 points. Like, kills me.
Narrowest margin of victory.
If they just handed the ball on like the 1 yard line, because the Chargers, by the way, were inside the 10 yard line twice and got 3 points out of both trips. Like, what? I
feel like the universe has destined Staley to have a 4th and 1 situation in every game that he plays. I think the football gods have just deemed that a necessary thing to keep testing him.
Do you know like about my points for and points against thing?
I can look at it right now.
No. So I have 630.9 points for my team, and the points against are 630.52. So technically, I've got like 0.38 more points than against me. Like something like that. I don't know the math. But it's like, how is it that's never does that happen regularly where it's like within a point of each other? Like that's got to be crazy, right?
Definitely not this far into the season.
I feel like I could easily be 4-2, man. Go ahead.
That's one thing that really makes me nervous is I actually have the lowest points against in the league by far. So I feel a little fluky because I don't think anyone, I mean, the closest person is Jacob, who's 25 points more. I have 524 against, which is way less than you. That's over 100 less than you against. So it feels a little fluky to be 4-2 because it's like I'm just getting lucky.
Yeah.
That's the one thing in fantasy you can't change. I guess unless you're me and you try to trade with Jake the week that you play Jake. But other than that, you can't play defense. So,
do you think that trade? So you offered me a trade. I talked about earlier on the show where you offered me. Let me pull it up. You offered me. Let me find it. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and was it Gus Edwards?
Yep, Gus Edwards.
Yeah, you offered me T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Gus Edwards for Calvin Ridley, Deshaun Watson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And, actually, oddly enough, I realized, like, mid-recording, but if I'd taken that trade, I still would have had a worse quarterback than I'd ended up with. Like, Derek Carr got me more points than Joe Burrow got you. But Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play, Deshaun Watson didn't play. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I was right to reject that trade or not. I'm still kind of processing it. I think it was right, because I did spend my first 2 picks on Calvin Ridley and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep.
But like, what are your thoughts? And don't try to skeeze me on the trade. Like, be objective here. Were you screwing me over? What was happening there? Like, what was going on in your head?
I felt that I was getting a fair bit better value as far as what you had invested into Gibbs and Ridley, but I hate Deshaun Watson, and I was like, if I'm gonna absolve Zach of his curse that my girlfriend gave you. If I'm going to absolve him of this, then I'm going to it's going to be a little sweetened here. So that was kind of the thought process. I was like, this probably isn't going to go through, but I don't want Deshaun Watson, so it's got to be good.
I'm realizing I met you in Hawaii with said girlfriend. She texted me the curse, right?
Yep.
But then I found out you were living in Minnesota. So there was a brief moment where I thought you guys might have broken up. You guys are still together. The girlfriend I met in Hawaii is still the one you're dating.
Yep, and she's still in Hawaii actually. So
interesting. But you were at her house doing renovation work recently, like.
Yep, making her room while she's gone, so she has one.
Dude, I liked her, man. She was cool. She gets brownie points from Zach. I was a fan. Whatever happens, but I liked her. I thought she was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we're doing opposite, because I think you're dating someone on the mainland, and I'm on the mainland dating someone in Hawaii.
Am I Logan?
I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say. You are the mother lovers, so.
Yeah. I mean, I try to keep my life. I may or may not be anymore. News, is that breaking news? Like a little like thing along? It doesn't matter.
You can cut that if you want. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't care. I think it's funny. It's like my way of announcing it
my
without
face
actually
is
announcing
so
it.
red.
Are you? I really don't care. It was fun. I didn't know how else to. I'm not gonna like start the show on like episode 606. Zach is single. You know what I mean? Like you can't. So that's like the only way I could ever like slip it in right there. So now the audience knows that I'm happy. Any other thoughts, man? Anything going on with you? Anything about your team? Anything you're looking forward to in fantasy? When do the playoffs start? I'm curious. Is that week 13?
It's going to be week 13 is the last week of the regular season, I believe, because it'll be the last. Fantasy never does I guess, week 18 now, just because a lot of players sit for the really good teams. So it'll be week 15, 16, and 17 will be the playoffs. So actually week 14 will still be regular season.
So I theoretically have time to get into the playoffs. It's just very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, I made that one dumb video, and busted on Cousins was 3-0 at the time, and now he's 3-3. So you never know what could happen. In 3 weeks, you could be 5-4. You could be above 500. So
I've got a shot this week. I'm playing against Carter, and he's got Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, who's kind of a nothing burger, Brown, the receiver, or Marquise Brown, the receiver in Arizona. Like, there's a shot. Christian Kirk. Like, I feel like I got a pretty decent shot this week. If, God forbid, my quarterback can play, and they I'd love it if Zach Moss can keep. It's funny, actually, the two Colts running backs are going head to head. I got Zach Moss. He's got Jonathan Taylor. That'll be interesting. Who gets more carries and touches and yards? But I think I got a good shot this weekend. I don't know.
I had was psychological warfare trying to trade for Jonathan Taylor for the last 2 weeks. I probably sent him 10 trade requests for John. That's not. I'll count them actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trade requests for Jonathan Taylor in the last 13 days. But I cannot pry Jonathan Taylor from his cold dead hands, I guess. He stopped responding to the last 3. He just left him on red. I think I just really like the Colts run game right now. Their run block is really good, but Jonathan Taylor has not done a whole lot since coming back, and maybe they have him on a pitch count type situation, but maybe Zach Moss is the guy now. I don't know.
I mean, Zach Moss is playing really well, but would they give him $40 million, something like that? You don't give a running back the money they did and not use him. But Zach Moss, as an owner of Zach Moss in fantasy, he's playing incredible, and I wouldn't bench Zach Moss. I'm like, why would we take touches away from this guy? And not even saying because on my fantasy team, straight up, he's playing really well. It's It actually makes it silly. It makes it even more awkward they gave Jonathan Taylor a lot of money because it's now you don't need him. Why did you do that? I'm so confused. That's
why I tried to trade for him again after Zach Moss went for 150 and 2 touchdowns, and Jonathan Taylor had 4 carries. I was like, I know you said no when he hadn't started yet, but now that he's started and it didn't go that well, and Zach Moss looked amazing. How about now? And so I can't have him.
I tried to do that with George Pickens. I sent Sam literally probably 10 different permutations, basically every player plus someone else, every permutation on my team I could to get George Pickens. And actually, I'm really glad I didn't because he's been not doing anything. The Steelers offense is garbage. So thank God Sam didn't trade me George Pickens. I would have given up way too much for him. But
giving up
I did the same
ransom,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think there's different archetypes of like fantasy football players, and I'm way too addicted to trading. I just have way too much fun with it, even to my own detriment. I think in another league, I traded AJ Brown for Brees Hall after week 1, and that has blown up in my face because AJ Brown has been unbelievable. But I sent 5 people trades today. And I probably piss everyone off because they're like, who is this guy sending me all these trades? But I find it so fun, and I make the trades way too big to try to make it even. I made a joke of I'm always making 9-player trades, but I actually did offer Phoenix a 9-player trade that day for Josh Allen because I want to get it as close to even as possible. But then people don't like that because they're trading away half their team.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that, Logan. Come on. You're a Vikings fan.
Clearly it hasn't happened.
No, I wouldn't give away half my team. I invested in them, right? Like, that's a crazy, wild move. Like, to just be like, hey, you want to give me half your team? I'll give you half my team. You're a Vikings fan. I want to ask you, as a fan of Minnesota, right? I proposed that today Seattle should trade a first-round pick to get Danielle Hunter. How would you feel about that if your team traded away Danielle Hunter for a first-round pick with Seattle?
I'm trying to remember what Danielle's contract is right now, if it's a 1 year, because he signed a bunch of 1 years, or if it is a 2-year deal or void years, or I don't know. But I mean, Seattle could be really good, so who knows how valuable that first-round pick is. But I want to briefly wax poetic about Danielle Hunter this year. He's leading the entire league in tackles for loss with 11 and sacks with 8. He's tied with TJ Watt. Although that could be passed up. I didn't check after Sunday night, Monday Night Football, but Danielle Hunter is quietly having a very good season, and I haven't really heard anyone talk about him. So, but if he went away for a first, I would be okay with it, just because I don't know how much it's offering the Vikings right now. I'm not in full tank mode or anything, but the season feels so bizarre because in the Vikings' 4 losses, they've looked better than in their two wins. I think both of their victories against the Panthers and Bears were really ugly. Both required a defensive touchdown. And then they looked really good against the Chiefs, and they almost came back against the Eagles. They maybe should have won against the Chargers after Brandon Staley went for it on 4th and 1 from his own 27, which I agreed with, by the way. But it's still psychotic to do, I guess.
It's wild. Well,
I feel like the Vikings should be 4-2, but like flipping. I mean, I don't think they should have beaten the Chiefs, but they looked way better against the Chiefs than they looked against the Bears.
Well, what's funny, all of their losses are by 1 score, right? Like, it's like that historic curse. I talked about it before the year. Like, they went 11-0 last year in the regular season in 1-score games. I'm like, there's just no way possible it's going to happen again. And I feel pretty comfortable. Like, I would keep the coaching staff in Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell's awesome. Brian Flores is awesome. I would just probably get a new quarterback and make some moves and kind of rebuild quietly. Like, I don't think you need to blow everything up in Minnesota. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Jordan Addison. I would just trade away whatever. Like, Danielle Hunter would be good to trade away before he leaves. He's going to be a free agent in 2024. So trade him for...
Yeah, I would trade him
a
for
first-round pick in Seattle would be amazing. Seattle would win. You get access to keep him maybe long-term. You can get him into a new contract. And then, man, I even said Seattle should trade for Brian Burns. Like, if you can trade for Brian Burns and Danielle Hunter, do both, because that would just bolster their defensive line. Like, I would trade my first 4 picks in Seattle to go get those 2 players. I know that's insanity, but I would think you're not going to get Brian Burns or Danielle Hunter in either of your first 4 picks of the draft next year for Seattle. So, I don't know, man.
I don't mind it. I didn't realize that this was the last year of his deal, although I figured it could be, but I didn't know if they signed him 2 years and a void year or whatever.
It's weird. Spot Track says like he's under contract in 2024 and 2025, but they also say he's an undrafted, unrestricted free agent in 2024. So I don't know what that means. Either Spot Track is wrong, because they say free agent 2024, but then they say it'll be in 2026 when he's 32. So I really can't tell. I've never seen a contract like this. I think Spot Track is having a problem because it's like I'll send you a screenshot. It doesn't make sense what I'm looking at. I'm like, what? How is this possible? So I really can't get a read on what that means for his contract. What about Kirk?
Yeah.
Like, I think Kirk's leaving. What's going to happen there?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, he said he wouldn't waive his no trade clause, so he'll be the Vikings quarterback for the rest of
This
the
year.
year.
Yeah.
I've heard some reports that they wanted to keep him in camp, but just wanted to see how he looks. So I don't fully know what's going on there. I've kind of turned into like a Kirk, I guess, supporter just because I feel like there's a lot of Kirk haters, especially within Viking circles. But if you look at like the team that Kirk came from, Washington, and the amount of quarterbacks that they've gone through since they let Kirk Cousins leave, it's like I will take Kirk Cousins rather than having a different starting quarterback for 5 years in a row.
Yeah,
But I know you kind of
he's not
touched on it.
garbage. Go ahead.
No. You kind of touched on it earlier as far as like you think things are good in Minnesota, but just maybe a quarterback change. I think it's a dream situation in Minnesota for a young quarterback because you have an offensive head coach. Brian Flores is a really good defensive coordinator who probably should still be a head coach. You have two really good tackles, superstar wide receiver, up and coming wide receiver two, and Jordan Addison. I mean, like, nice stadium. Not that that matters that much, but still, some quarterbacks might like to play in indoors versus outdoors. So I think, I think it's a really good situation.
No, man, I totally agree. The guy I think that would be awesome in Minnesota is Cam Ward, the quarterback at Washington State. Like, I think he'll be available when they draft because he'll be a mid to late first round pick. I think they'll be probably like the 15th pick, something like that. Especially if you can move Danielle Hunter, right? If you can trade Danielle Hunter for a first round pick, that's a king's ransom, I believe. But even if you get a second or third round pick, then you could package your first round pick at another pick to move up in the draft to go get Cameron Ward. But I think the thing with Kirk, although I too am a Kirk supporter, I would rather have Kirk Cousins for 5 years than whatever Washington's been doing recently, right? However, what I will say is that Kirk is expensive, and it does limit your ability to pay other people. And if you can get a rookie quarterback who can do even 80% of what Kirk does, but at 5% of the cost, and just really build your team around that young quarterback, like the 49ers have done with Brock Purdy. That's a special situation. You're not going to replicate exactly that, but how many teams have gone to a Super Bowl with a quarterback on a rookie contract? Jalen Hurts, Philly, Carson Wentz, Philly, Jared Goff, the
Mahomes,
Rams. Like,
first time.
yeah, like, I mean, you can really build a great team around a quarterback on a rookie contract, and that's what I would want to do in Minnesota. I think they've got so many pieces right. GM seems really competent. Defensive coordinator's great. Head coach is great. He's also the offensive mastermind there. You've got great receivers. You're right. It's a tantalizing place for a young quarterback.
I think if you're a QB, you want to be protected and you want to have a really good weapon, and Minnesota has both of those right now. So I think
also Minnesota's a great place to live. Like, I don't know if the audience knows this. I lived there until I was 7 years old. So I know Minnesota pretty well, and I know the culture. I've got friends there. I've got a friend who lives in a truck and drives around there. Like, I know people who do stuff there, and the culture of Minnesota is awesome. The people there, as far as a fan base, like, would you rather play in New York as a quarterback or Minnesota? Like, come on. Kirk Cousins would get eaten alive in New York. He gets a lot of love. As far as Kirk Cousins goes, he gets a lot of love compared to where he would be other places, like not outside of Minnesota or not in Minnesota. So I just think, like, did Caleb Williams list you guys as one of his potential teams? I think he did, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think he did, yeah. Like, that idea would be like insanely cool if that could possibly happen. So.
Yeah, I don't know if
man.
the Vikings will bottom out that much, but also, like, the New York media just makes me realize, like, how much I could not handle being an NFL quarterback. Not like a skill level or like an on-field processing level, but like I would have like a mental breakdown having like a press conference so fast. Like, I would just be getting bombarded, and I would just be like, shut up, and just walk away, and then I would be getting absolutely flamed. It would be a terrible look. I was like, I could not handle that.
Dude, to put it in perspective, I can barely handle the tiny amount of, like, feedback I get. And I'm like the tiniest podcast on the internet, right? Like, I can barely, I'm like, where's that bridge? Can I jump? Like, I loved when I did HVAC and I got no feedback and no one cared what I was doing. And there's no one, like, looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so I can't even imagine what it's like to be like Daniel Jones. I would hate that so much. All that attention. You can't walk anywhere. You can't go to a bar. You see the picture of Bill Belichick at McDonald's the other day?
I
Have
did
you
not
seen
see
that?
that.
Dude, it's hilarious. He like went like full suit after their game, went to McDonald's. And like he's ordering at McDonald's, and you're like, someone wrote the captions like he's trying to get a better Mac. That's funny, man. I don't know. Any other thoughts? I could talk to you for hours, but I don't like, it's like the show. I don't know what to do here. Like we're friends, but it's like, so anyway, like any
I
football
want to
wise,
bring something up about your
Please do.
draft. Not to roast you at all. I think it's just you took a lot of risks early, and I just want to point this out
Here
because I
we
don't know
go.
if you've realized that in your first 5 selections, I'll just name them: Calvin Ridley, Jahmyr Gibbs, George Kittle, Deshaun Watson, and Odell Beckham. Out of those 5 players, now Gibbs, it's kind of cheating, but they played a combined 21 games in the year before. In last year, Calvin Ridley, no games. Jahmyr Gibbs, no games. George Kittle played 15. Deshaun Watson played 6. And Odell played 0. So you definitely... It's just really risky, I think.
Well, Deshaun had a suspension. Like,
they all had reasons.
Well, I feel like I definitely took risks, right? Like but I thought if I took risks, it would work. Like OBJ is probably the worst risk I took. I thought Odell Beckham Jr. was going to be awesome this year, and he's not even on my team. He's garbage. I had to drop him. Like I gave up on him because I was just like, this isn't working. I refused to give up on Jahmyr Gibbs because I think there's potential there, but I think we're looking at a big bust with Jahmyr Gibbs too.
The real question: who knows? Maybe he comes back. David Montgomery's still sitting out, and Dan Campbell loves what he sees. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, what's crazy is I got Nico Collins in the second to last round, and that's ended up being like. And Derek Carr's back, by the way. I drafted Derek Carr, then dropped him, and now he's back on my team.
I didn't even realize that you drafted him.
Yeah, it's been a weird year for me. I'm lost and confused and sad. I hate being 2-4. I want to win so bad. Like I really do. You feel rage when you lose? Like, do you want to win? What's like how do you handle the emotions of fantasy football?
I think it's gotten easier just because I think it's like my 10th year of doing fantasy football, and I've done 3 different leagues. So I think it gets a little easier, but I want to win in this league so bad. I have a league with my friends who I see them and we talk crap to each other if we're winning or losing, and that's a buy-in, and I care a lot more about winning in this one. So if that tells you anything, I think it's not really a problem you're having, but it's kind of like when basketball teams play the Lakers or something. It's like whenever they play the Lakers, like that's their Super Bowl, but for the Lakers, it's every game. Like for me, I've had this week circled for you, and maybe other people have it circled because they're like, oh, I get to play Zach in week 9 or whatever. But for you, it's every game.
So it's extra effort. People are giving me their very best. Damn
Yep, I'm doing more research.
I never thought of that. Oh, crap. You're right. And I'm like waking up on a Sunday, like, who's alive? Who's like starting? Like, I wake up at like 7 o'clock. Sunday, games are already started.
I was so desperately trying to call you.
Dude, I know.
To tell you that Deshaun wasn't.
No, you're fine. I don't know if you know this. My Do Not Disturb has been on the entire time I lived in Hawaii. Like 4 months. And the only person who goes through my Do Not Disturb is my I guess not anymore, and then my dad. So like I
knew it was Do Not Disturb, but I was like, maybe like I can get through.
Well, you know it sucked too. This week I was like, I got to be disciplined. And I went to bed. I went to bed at 4 a.m. Saturday night. Like I cannot for the life of me. Like I started watching the London game and then went to bed. That's how late I was up. Right, the London game starts at 3:30 my time here. Like It was insane, and I wasn't because I was being irresponsible either. I went to bed at 8 like a good little boy, waiting for Sunday morning football, and I laid there and I couldn't sleep, and I was like football, and I literally like laid in bed like a nerd, just waiting. Like if I could ever get up at like 6, having football start at 7 is great for my job. It's terrible for fantasy football. Like it's so much more difficult.
I've been such more of a quiet fan this year, and people around me are like, "What? Like you're not getting as excited as you used to." And it's like, well, because I'd get a death glare if I made any noise at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, because I'm just in a tiny apartment, one little room. So
yeah. Did you have a studio or did you have a bedroom even?
It had a bedroom and a kitchen, but I wasn't setting my laptop up on the kitchen counter, so I was just in the bedroom. But it was
Oh
also
man.
shared with a roommate, so I didn't want to wake him up either.
Oh man, that's so tough. That's what people don't realize about Hawaii. Like everything is so small and so tight. Like you don't
hmm
have you like make so many sacrifices with your personal space because you're like you do what you got to do, man. Like it's all you got.
Yeah,
Um,
like one time I needed some space and I just sat in the kitchen because I was like, well, where else am I gonna go? Like I could go walk, but I was like, I just need a moment, so I just sat on the kitchen counter. So I was like, there's nowhere else to go, I guess.
how was hurricane or how was that tornado season? Anything disruptive there?
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
I've been good. Nothing. Last year, my girlfriend's house got hit by a tornado, but the house was fine, just shingles and other property damage. But I've never had no issues with tornadoes this year, fortunately.
When I was a kid, I'll never forget a tornado like went over our house. And I don't tell me the couple times I remember seeing a tornado as a child, the sky turns like green. Is that your
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not.
Yep.
It's a thing too. Okay, because that's always
Yep,
been my
it's a
memory,
thing.
but I've never confirmed it. Yeah. So the sky turns green, the air starts like churning above your head, and I watched it go over our house and then hit the house like across the street, and I was like, "Whoa, that was crazy!" And like, I probably shouldn't have been outside either, by the way, but I was outside. I was like, "Wow!" Like we're from like Washington, right? So I'm like, "Wow!" And then the hits over there, and I'm like, "That's horrifying," right? Like it's crazy. I don't know, man. Tornado season is wild. Anything else you want to talk about? I had something on the tip of my tongue, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did too. I'm trying to think now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just. That was another thing. Is last year the Vikings played in London, so I actually stayed up, started watching the game at 3:30 or whatever, and then it came down to the wire as classic 2022 Vikings did. They won because the Saints missed a field goal at the end of the game, and right as the field goal went through, the sun was already coming up, and I couldn't fall asleep because it came down to the wire, and my adrenaline is pumping. So I just laying in bed like wide awake. I was like, I'm so dead tired, but I cannot fall asleep for the life of me. So it's definitely a struggle watching
Yeah.
football. But yeah, I'm sure it's great for your job because then you can work later in the evening. But
Dude, it's so great having Monday Night Football on. I'm the only person who feels this way. Everyone else, so like all my friends at work in Oahu are like, they're like frustrated. Like, dude, I miss the game every Monday because I got to work. I get off at 5. But to me, I'm like, 2 o'clock football? Perfect. Like I'm in the middle of my shift. You went to a
it
Vikings
is a
game.
weird feeling though.
Oh, yeah,
Like
it is.
having football because like the whole thing is waiting all day for Sunday night. Like that's what I grew up listening to, and you go to school and then you come back and it's dark, and then all of a sudden it's just on in the middle of the day. It's very bizarre.
Waiting it all for Sunday lunch. Woo!
Yeah,
Like lunchtime football. Or like big noon kickoff is at 6 a.m. Like this week, Ohio
Yep.
State plays Penn State, 6 a.m. And I'll be up, dude. I'm not missing that
Yep.
for anything. And it's actually great because I can watch that game. And then depending on the other games, maybe I can go faff about and go do other stuff for a while and like enjoy my Saturday, then come back and catch up on the other games. You went to a Vikings game the other day, and I saw. Can you tell me about the stadium? Like, tell me about. Is it U.S. Bank Stadium? Am I correct
Yep.
there? Tell me about U.S. Bank
Yes.
Stadium.
I love US Bank Stadium so much. It's just such a blast. There's a lot of little details, like they have fake snow falling inside the stadium on like the fans, but it doesn't really get down to you, but you can see it coming down
It's
in
just the
front of the
asbestos,
lights.
man. You got to watch out. That's just the.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I hope not, but it could be. No. I love US Bank Stadium. I actually went to. I don't get to go to the regular season games normally. I went to one 3 years ago. We played Washington, and it was a Thursday night football, and it was really cheap. I'm way up in the corner 300 level, but it was a blast because it was Thursday night football. But I went to both home preseason games this year for like $10 each, just so I could go to the stadium. And then I got a once in a lifetime opportunity to go see the Chiefs game. I was told that morning. I was like, "Hey, I have a free ticket." A family friend, he has kids, but they're actually they're in the military, so they're all across the country. And I had lunch with him the night or the day before, and he was like, "Hey, I know I told you I was going to the Vikings game. I have a free ticket if like could you make it?" And he told me like 3 hours before kickoff. I was like, yeah, I can make it. So I mean, I'm thinking I'm just gonna be sitting at home, and all of a sudden I'm throwing my jersey on and meeting him because he was Ubering to the stadium.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude, I want to visit next time I'm in Minnesota. So, Marcus Whitman, that franchise guy, lives out there in Minneapolis,
Yep.
and I love him. So next time I'm in the area,
He was
I'll
at the
see him
game
and I'll see
too.
you. Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, he loves. I don't know, man. What's it like to watch Patrick Mahomes live? By the way, because I feel like the thing that people don't understand about Patrick Mahomes is like he's so big. He's like way bigger than other people. It's like weird how he looks like an action figure running around with like dolls or something. Like he's just way bigger than everybody.
It was. I guess I didn't think about it too much going into the game, but I didn't have a lot of time to think. But like when I went to my last Vikings game, not including the preseason games, I was watching Dwayne Haskins and not Case Keenum, but I forget who it was, but it was not to the tier of Patrick Mahomes, and that was a treat to watch. He was so elusive, it was pissing me off, really. I was like, oh my gosh, he escaped another sack. He is huge and so fast, and he can throw the ball so hard, and it was really like a culture shock, I guess, going from just seeing a human like that. It doesn't even seem realistic for the body to do what he was doing right in front of me.
Dude, he's unbelievable. I mean, I feel like he makes me not want to watch quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett or Jared Goff or like quarterbacks who are so limited physically. I'm like, what? Why would I, like, when that's out there, it's like, why would you ever want to watch anybody else? I think Chiefs fans might not even realize how like good their lives are getting to watch that every week. Like, not even if they were losing, just the fact that you have to watch a high level quarterback every week for years is like the most incredible thing you could possibly have.
It was a shock, and I was right on the sideline basically because the seats were ridiculous. I got to high five all the Vikings players, which Cam Akers gives a crazy mean high five. So do with that info what you will, fantasy owners. But just getting to see Mahomes so close and just seeing what he was doing on the field, it was upsetting to me, obviously, because it was against my team. But it was watching him play is something that'll stick with me. And I think if you ever have an opportunity, like anyone listening, have an opportunity to see a quarterback of that caliber, like that will stick with you, even if it's dicing up your team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's an experience. It's like going to a Taylor Swift concert. It's one of those rare things that like, this is so special and so cool that I'll always be able to talk about it, always be able to remember that moment. I remember I watched Tom Brady play for the Patriots live in Cincinnati in 2019. I took my dad. And I got to watch, we sat at the 50-yard line, and I watched Tom Brady live for the Patriots in his last year for the Patriots. And I was like, for me, it was like, that's a bucket list thing. To be able to say I got to watch that guy live and in person. And watching a live event is the kind of thing that it only happens once. Like, you can't ever go back in time and rewatch that experience live. Like, it's such a unique thing. And I think it's cool that I didn't realize the story was you found out 3 hours before, and you're like, all right, putting on the jersey, getting in the car, like, here we go. Like, I think that's amazing. And good for you for being one of the guys who's like, send it. All right. Well, I guess we're going. That's
and
awesome.
I actually had overtime that I was working on that weekend, so I got back from the game at like 8, and then I was doing overtime until 2 in the morning, and I get up at 6 for work. So I was like, I really shouldn't go to this, but this is I'm never getting this opportunity again. So I went to it, and then right as I got back home from work, I was working, or back home from the game, I was working. So
can I ask you,
it was worth it.
Without doxing yourself, right? Don't tell people like your address, but what area generally do you live? Like, are you close to the stadium? Is it like a drive? I mean, Minnesota's a big area, so.
I'm not too far. I always take the light rail, like that's the train basically, because it's just way less of a headache.
The one that goes to the airport, right? I
don't go
dude,
all
I've ridden on that. I wrote it out like 3 years ago. That's crazy. Okay, sorry.
I don't go all the way to the airport, but so I usually do that, and it's about a half an hour ride. So it's like a 20-minute drive to the station that I go to with free parking. So I'd say it usually takes me, depending on what way I take, about 50 minutes to get to the stadium. So not bad. But they Ubered, and I wouldn't do that again because it was just kind of sketchy being out on the streets of Minneapolis at night, trying to get an Uber that's not $90. So I prefer the light rail definitely.
I don't know that you glossed over something. There's free parking at the light rail. That's not a thing in a lot of places. Like a lot of places, nickel and dime you.
Yeah.
Like we got you in a parking lot, you're paying $5. Like they're just the Northwest, Washington, Oregon, California. They're not like that. That's living good in Minnesota out there. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's free parking, which is why I go to it, even though it's further than some of the other stations.
That's pretty awesome. Well, man, I got nothing else for you. I could talk to you for like 3 hours, but I do probably should cut the show at some point. But I love you, man. I've been having fun.
Yeah.
And any else
Could
you
I bring
want?
up one more thing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think part of like the Brock Purdy like hate is that people are upset that they missed his rise, and so they want to be right on his fall because like there's always another shoe, and like obviously Brock Purdy is, everyone retires, father time in football never loses, or in general, but so they want to be right first with Brock Purdy. And it's like, no, he's a good quarterback. He's been playing well, and they're winning. So I think people just want to be the first on the story kind of thing, even if it's just to their friends. It's like, see, I told you Brock Purdy was going to be bad, but who's counting shoes?
Man, I think there's so much ego wrapped up in the sports media. Like there are people, frankly, people like Stephen A. Smith who are I think, so bad for sports media. Where like there's this desire to be right rather than be accurate, and be objective and honest and nuanced. And I don't know. I've every once in a while thought about like just leaving sports media and saying like I'm clearly, my approach isn't what people want. I really occasionally am like, should I just like walk? Because clearly like what Stephen A. Smith is doing is working, and I get so discouraged. I'm like, why isn't my approach working? Why don't more people love what I'm doing? And I never know, but it seems like a broken system that irritates me endlessly. I just don't know, man. It kills me.
Well, all of us on the interviews love the show, so at least we do.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Well, man, I love you. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate you for all the content.
Oh, absolutely, man. All right, that was Logan. Logan's incredible, man. We talked for, I don't even know, like I feel like an hour after we like hung up and ended the recording, and then we talked for like another hour about life and about Hawaii, and we talked about the time we went to Ken's and at breakfast and favorite beaches and all kinds of stuff, man. I don't know. I love Logan. If you're listening, I know you are. I love you, man. You're the best. And to anyone out there listening to the podcast, I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. And bam, we are done.